こんにちは。今日は、イギリスのブライトンで開催されているブライトン SEO というカンファレンスに来てます。で、大の仲良しとグレッグに、今日はローカル SEO といろいろ聞きたいと思います。Hi, Greg. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's nice to have you. Yes. So this is the first time I interview with
I think so, yeah.
Why?
I know, right? Why have we done this a million times?
Okay. So today I'm going to ask about local SEO because we are expert of local SEO.
Let's do it.
So first question is, how has local SEO evolved over the past few years? And what key trends should local business owners be aware of to stay competitive?
Well, it's changed a lot, but it also hasn't changed at all. So we were talking just the other day about how, I speak at a lot of conferences, and you can go back and look at the stuff that I was talking about at brightonSEO 10 years ago, and probably 80 to 85% of the things that I was saying 10 years ago are still true today.
No.
A lot of the basics haven't really changed. It's more little elements get added in to the Google business profile or to reviews or things like that might change. But the thing that I think most people get wrong about local SEO is they think local SEO is traditional SEO and then just do some stuff with the Google business profile. And they don't realize it's a completely different approach across the board. So on the content side of things, I don't really think that much has changed. On the link side of things, I think links have become less important for local. Google is putting a lot more value into, if we're looking at, say, from 10 years ago to now, Google's putting less value in just content and links and more value in reviews and proximity to the, from the searcher to the search results. I think that's becoming much more important. And I don't know if anybody watching this knows me, but you know me, and I work with car dealers for forever. And the radius of visibility, let's say you do a search for Ford dealer in whatever city. The radius used to be much wider than it is now. It seems like the radius is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And business owners freak out about this, but they have to realize that they can't control what Google does. Google's not there to help you. You have to play in Google's sandbox. And so we have to talk to clients a lot and explain that, just because you were able to show up this far away 4 or 5 years ago doesn't mean you'll be able to do that anymore. And so I think a lot of people, to stay competitive, their problem is the general public, business owners, they don't understand SEO. So that's why they work with agencies and freelancers. And I think people still kind of have this mindset of these are the things that I've been doing for forever, and they're not adjusting what they're doing moving forward. So I think it's really important for people to think a lot more about customer reviews, because reviews have become such an important signal, especially within the map pack area. And then I think too, a lot of people misinterpret how they should be doing content. Joy Hawkins is really well known. I'm sure everyone watching has heard of Joy Hawkins if they do local SEO. And she was just sharing a story about a client that they just brought on recently that was a home services client. So it was like a plumber. And they had, on their own, before they were working with Joy, decided to use ChatGPT to spin up 200,000 pages. So they had a different page for plumbing in hundreds of thousands of cities, thinking that that would help. And their rankings tanked. So then when they started working with Joy, Joy was like, this is garbage. This is all, A, it's garbage content. It's not helpful. And B, you've clearly written it with AI anyway, so it's even worse. So they got rid of all those pages and constrained it just to the area that they're in, and suddenly the rankings come back. I think business owners are always looking for that silver bullet. They're looking for the one thing that they can do that's going to bump them to the top of the search results. And I think everyone forgets it's just all part of the grind. You have to create great content on a regular basis. You have to do all the things that you've always done. And I don't really think there's anything new that, hey, you should do this and this is going to help. I think really the only thing is shifting priorities and thinking more, especially with the rise of the LLMs, it's more about, do you have the content that answers the questions your customers are going to be asking? I think that's really the most important bit.
So so you are talking about content. So what type of content strategy yields the best results for businesses trying to run for local service or product channels?
Literally, I was almost leading into your question, right? It's really, the thing that most people don't get is they're almost hesitant to share too much information. We have clients all the time that are like, I don't want to give them all that information. I want them to call me and ask me, because then once they've got them on the phone, then you're on the hook and you're going to buy. But customers today, they don't want to call you until they're ready to buy. So you need to provide so much more information than you used to 10 years ago. And so I have a weekly video series, and one of the videos I did recently, we call it shopping by symptom. because we work with some healthcare companies, and the example I like to use is, let's say someone's going to get plastic surgery and they're older, so they have droopy eyelids, because when you get older, your face starts to droop. And so the actual plastic surgery procedure to fix, drooping eyelids is called a blepharoplasty. Nobody knows that term except doctors. But all the plastic surgeons go create pages about blepharoplasty. And then their agency is like, you rank number 1 for blepharoplasty in your town. But they're not getting any phone calls because that's not what customers are searching for. Customers are searching for, my eyelids are drooping, how do I fix it? Or how do I get plastic surgery? They're not searching for the specific term. So I think the big disconnect there is business owners and even a lot of marketers need to realize it's not about here's this keyword, put this keyword on the page. It's thinking about the way that your customers are trying to find your solution, not you specifically, but people tend to forget, regardless of what kind of business you are, the reason that you are selling your product or service is because you're selling a solution to a problem that a customer has, but the customer doesn't always search for that solution. The customer searches for other things, like the search by symptom. You may not know that you need surgery. You may not know that you're sick and you need to go to the doctor. You're going to search for the symptoms that you're having, and then you'll find content around those symptoms, and then hopefully that content leads you to a plastic surgeon that says, oh, you need this thing that's actually called a blepharoplasty. And that's not just for healthcare, it's for every business. We work with a lot of car dealers. And if someone has a third or a fourth child and now they have to upgrade and get a minivan or a large SUV, they're not going to search for, I need the Honda Odyssey. They're going to search for, I just had a third kid and I need a car with third row seating that I can put all of their sports equipment in. And the car dealership that has the piece of content that says, well, hey, if you're upgrading and you've got more kids, this is a great vehicle and here's a great vehicle. And so I think people need to start shifting the way that they're thinking about content. And instead of saying, doing the old school of let's do keyword research and here's these 5 keywords, let's write a piece of content for each of the 5 keywords. It's more about here's the product or service that we're selling. What are the early funnel questions that people are going to be asking where they're not ready to buy yet, but they're going to be ready to buy at some point in the future? You got to be writing content around that earlier funnel stuff to capture people. And that also plays well with the rise of the ChatGPTs and perplexities of the world, because people are starting to ask the LLMs these much longer conversational questions. And if you're saying, keyword phrase in city throughout your content like we would do 10 years ago, that doesn't help the LLM because that's not what people are asking. So you've got to start thinking earlier, 5, 10, 15 steps before they're ready to buy. That's the kind of content you should be writing.
So it's better to publish all the information on websites that our potential customers may want to know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Share as much as you can, because especially with the shift that's happening towards, AI search engines or just AI agents that you're going to ask questions to before you go do the search, if you have that kind of gatekeeping mentality where you're just sharing a little bit of information, you're giving them the teaser hoping they're going to come to you, that's not going to work. And if you're the first person in your market that's sharing all of the additional information, not only will customers find you and appreciate that and buy more from you, all the LLMs are really going to love that and eat that up, and you're going to show up really well in the LLMs. So it's kind of future looking too, because it works now for local search, but it's also going to work perfectly when people shift to using LLMs at whatever point that happens.
I think that strategy would establish trustworthiness, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So next question is, what are the most common mistakes local businesses make with their Google business profile, and how can they avoid them?
So there's a bit of a running joke right now. Google is trying to fight fake listings and spam, and they're so aggressive that there are a lot of false positives. A lot of legitimate businesses are getting suspended. And so kind of the running joke that we all have been making lately is the biggest mistake that people make is they breathe on their keyboard, and then that means they're going to get suspended. It's literally, you don't even have to change anything. You can log into your Google business profile and, you're suspended. It's not really that bad, but it's almost that bad. You can be a legitimate business and you can go in and maybe your hours of operation have changed and now you're opening an hour earlier every morning and you go change your hours and Google will suspend you. And it's not even that you're making a mistake. It's just that Google is trying desperately to get rid of all of the fake listings out there, because it's not good for people if you're doing a search and all the business profiles in the map app are fake businesses, right? So it makes sense that they're doing it. So the mistake isn't that you shouldn't touch anything because you might get suspended. The biggest mistake that businesses make is if they do get suspended, they're not prepared for the recovery process because the new suspension recovery process has been rolled out worldwide. And so let's say you have a business profile and you've done something and it wasn't even against the guidelines. You're changing your hours of operation, or maybe your phone number changes, or you're changing something that is perfectly allowed and perfectly okay and perfectly right, but Google still suspends you. When you get that email, Google will tell you you're suspended, and it will be very vague. It won't say, hey, you changed your hours and you got suspended. It will be like, you got suspended for deceptive content, which who knows what that means, right? And then there's a little button that says request a reinstatement or request an appeal. When you click that button, it starts the process. When that process starts, you have a 60-minute timer. If the 60-minute timer expires before you've provided all your documentation, that was your one chance. You've lost your profile.
What happens?
Yeah, it'll be suspended and removed for forever. And you actually can get one reappeal, but you get two chances to get it back. But the thing is, what you need to supply is enough evidence for Google's support team to understand that, yes, this is a legitimate profile that was suspended incorrectly. The problem is you have to send like business license, utility bills, any sort of official documentation, but they don't let business owners know that, a lot of times you'll have some official legal name for your business, but the name on your sign isn't that same name. Well, the name on your Google business profile is going to be the name on your sign. If your business documents have the legal name and it doesn't match the name on your business profile and that's what you send in, they're going to say, oh, nope, sorry, that's not you. Pretty often they're going to ask you for a verification video where you have to take a video and, show the street outside so they can see where you're located, show your permanent signage, show your doorway, and then you have to show that you have access to things that the general public doesn't have access to. For instance, maybe the front door is locked and you unlock the front door and show that you have access to unlock the door. Or if it's a door that doesn't really lock, maybe it's like a bar or a restaurant, and you can go to the back and access the office and the computer system that the public can't access. The problem is, if you click this button and the 60-second timer starts, let's say you live in downtown Tokyo, right? Okay, you're downtown Tokyo. Let's say that your business is out in the suburbs, and for you to get from your home to your business takes an hour. You've got to go do the video. You don't have the ability to get there and get the video done within an hour. Google doesn't care. That timer can't be paused. Or let's say it's your agency working with a client that gets suspended and you're handling all the Google Business Profile stuff, and your client is 5 hours away and they're busy and they're not able to do the video, then you can't do the video. So the biggest mistake that we're seeing lately is people that are just not prepared for that process, because they don't realize when you click the button to appeal and start the process, that timer starts and you only have 60 minutes. And I mean, how many people have their articles of incorporation and their business license and tax documents just laying around? You're going to have to go find all that, and you don't even really know all the stuff that you have to send in. And I help on the Google Business Profile community forum, and we see people coming that will get suspended and they say, oh, well, I just sent in a photo of my business card, and they said that's not enough. But so I think more than anything, the biggest mistake that people make is they're just not prepared to get a suspension recovery process handled. Yeah. Like we tell all of the clients that we work with, if you get suspended, don't click anything, call us first, so we can prep them on what to do. But besides that, I think probably the biggest mistake that businesses make around local search is they have a set it and forget it mentality. They will set up their business profile, and most businesses out there don't work with either an agency or a freelancer. They don't have anyone doing SEO for them, but they know they need this business profile, so they'll set it up and then they just don't touch it. And it hasn't been touched in years. And so I don't think that there's anything in the algorithm that it's freshness, but we see businesses all the time where, they set their profile up 7, 8, 10 years ago, and then COVID happened and everything was closed during COVID. COVID restrictions are lifted, but during COVID, they went in and put that they were closed. They were not open for business, but you temporarily closed, or you changed your hours, or maybe you were open from 9 to 5 before COVID, but then after COVID, you were like, maybe now it's 10 to 6 or something. But because they don't have a marketer working with them, they forget about their business profile, and now their hours are incorrect. So I think, we see people all the time that, maybe you have a brick and mortar storefront and you set it up 10 years ago, but you came in and did a redesign. You remodeled 4 years ago, and all of the pictures in your business profile are of the old office and not what it looks like now. So there's a disconnect between customers seeing your photos online and then they show up to the store and they're like, wait, maybe this isn't the right store. So a lot of it is really more, I think, just at a general level, business owners don't really understand how important the Google Business Profile is, and they kind of just forget about it and leave it to sit out there and kind of rot.
So it's crucial to keep our GDP updated.
Very much so.
the next question is, how is the increasing use of AI in search results like Google's AI overviews or ChatGPT search impacting local businesses? And what should they focus on right now?
Honestly, I don't think they need to focus on anything right now. So AI overviews are just now starting to roll out into local. They really haven't touched local yet because the intent of a search is so much different with a local search, because with a local search, you're most likely going to go buy from that local business. And there's still so much hallucination. Somebody was showing something a few weeks ago on Twitter where they asked, maybe it was ChatGPT or Claude, I don't know. They asked one of the LLMs for best pizza restaurant or whatever, best kind of restaurant in their town. And it listed 5 restaurants and 4 of them didn't even exist. So I think there's that problem where a lot of people don't trust it. And we as a marketing industry are all freaked out about AI overviews and, Search GPT and Perplexity and DeepSeek and all of these other things. And we're like, oh my gosh, they're coming for our traffic. It's all going away, just like we did with rich snippets 10 years ago. But the general public, I don't think the general public uses it that much. They use it for, like, one of the things that I was just at SMX Munich a few weeks ago, and they were talking about how if you're a recipe blogger, that's pretty much dead. Because now, why would you go read a blog that has 1,000 words about how your grandma immigrated from wherever and grew up, and this is the most authentic recipe, and it's this big long story before you get to the recipe, which was the thing you want in the first place. Now you just go to ChatGPT and say, give me a recipe for spaghetti, and it gives you a great recipe. So I think with local, it's less of a I need information query and more of a I need to buy from this specific business query. And I just don't think it's quite there yet. And so the people that are using the AI and AI overview and AI search engines and ChatGPTs, I just don't think that there's much of a use case yet. There is. It's not that it doesn't exist. It's just so infinitesimal. They showed a thing at one of the talks in Germany where it was like, here is Perplexity and Search GPT and ChatGPT and Claude and everything all together. Here's the average monthly use of it. And it was just a little line. And they said, and here's the number of searches that happen on Google every month. And it was this massive, tall thing. Now we're all freaking out because we understand that this change is coming and we're trying to be proactive and get ready for it. But in reality, I don't think it's having that much of an effect.
So regarding local search, local SEO, we don't have nothing special.
I don't think, yeah. And like we have clients asking us all the time, how do I optimize to show up in AI? As of right now, there's really not anything different that you need to do. And I'm not going down the argument of people are saying we should call it GEO instead of SEO or just SO instead of SEO or whatever. I don't care about all that. Call it whatever you want to call it. But it's like voice search was like 10, 12 years ago. People were like, how do I optimize for voice search? You don't really do anything different than you did for SEO. I think the only thing that might change is it might be more likely that schema becomes much more important now because schema markup helps the AI understand what you're about and what your entity is about, where, most of the time when schema markup really got used, it was because, now we're seeing FAQ markup in search results and you can get the little FAQ snippet. So we want to go do FAQ schema on our site. You're not doing it because it's helping customers or it's helping your website. You're doing it because you want to get extra elements in search results. I think now schema is going to become more prevalent because people are going to realize we need to be doing schema for all of the AI systems, knowing that it's just going to help us with the AIs in general, not that I'm going to get better placement or some widget that's going to show up.
Yeah. In fact, Martin told me that structured data would work for even to LLMs just before this interview.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be probably the biggest change, but at least with maybe in traditional stuff, it might be different, but I think for local, I don't foresee things changing very drastically anytime soon.
So this is the last question. Looking ahead a few years, what do you predict will be the most significant shift or challenge in local SEO that business owners need to prepare for?
I love this one. So I think at least until somebody figures out another method, one of the bigger drivers of local search right now is you're trying to find the solution in your local area. And then what happens at the end of that? You found the solution. You know what you're going to buy. You know where you're going to buy from. You have to get directions to go there. The LLMs can give you turn-by-turn directions, but you don't have a map app in your car or on your phone showing you when to turn and where to drive. So while everyone else is worried, we're coming to a point where you're just not going to get website traffic anymore. And any organic search traffic that you get is going to be all brand search because people are already going to have decided what they want to buy and where they want to buy from. They're just going to go Google what the name of the company is, and then it pulls up the website, and then they can go buy from that company. If you're e-commerce or whatever, sure, that makes sense. But from local, you may not get some of that initial search traffic, the early stuff, even the stuff I was talking about with the, early funnel stuff. You're probably not going to get much traffic from that because that part's going to happen on the AI systems. But I think right now we already see that people will do these AI searches and then they end that entire process with a Google search to go to a website where they do the transaction. I think that's still going to happen in local. I haven't heard of anyone that's even suggested a better solution than people are going to do their search in AI. And then at the end, instead of going to Google the website, you're going to go to Google Maps or Apple Maps or Waze or whatever you use as a mapping solution to give you directions to go to that business. So I think looking forward, regardless, people need to be prepared for the fact that they're going to be losing traffic. Your traffic is probably the highest it's ever going to be today. And maybe not today, but 6 months from now, whatever it might be. Like there's going to be a point in the near future where that's the most traffic you're ever going to have. And it's just going to start to drop after that because people are going to be shifting away from Google and shifting away from coming to your website to get those answers. And they really just come at the very end to find out who you are. So I think people need to be prepared for that. But I think in local, you still may not be getting website traffic, but you're still going to get directions clicks and directions pulled up in the various map apps. So I'm at least hoping, crossing fingers, that we'll still be able to track that and prove ROI to clients and not just have to be like, well, you're not getting traffic anymore, but you're showing up in the AI somehow. So your leads haven't gone down. You're still selling. So I guess what we're doing is working, because that's going to be hard for a business owner to say, at least before. You can put money into PPC and see the results, or put money into SEO and see the results. Now you're putting money into SEO and your results are your sales go up or they don't drop, but you're not going to be able to use traffic as a KPI or conversions as a KPI anymore.
Do you think local SEO will become more difficult in the near future?
How near do you mean when you say near future? Like the next year?
In 2 or 3 years.
I think in the next year, it won't be any more difficult than it is now. I really think 2 to 3 years, I don't think it's going to be that much more difficult than it is now. Unless Google does some sort of really crazy change that causes more suspensions. But if Google's not doing weird stuff, then I don't think it's going to be that quick that local will change. I could be wrong. Who knows? But again, we seem to cry wolf. We see this coming and we're collectively freaking out as marketers, but the general public just isn't there yet, And I saw something on Blue Sky this morning where somebody was doing a search of Chrome plugins, and there's this huge number of Chrome plugins that are available now that the entire purpose of the Chrome plugin is to hide AI overviews in Google. Because the general public is so annoyed with AI overviews, they don't want to see AI overviews. I think part of that is just because they're still new and people aren't used to them yet. But if there are, 15 or 20, there's a big list of plugins just to hide AI overviews. If there are that many people creating those plugins, there has to be demand for that, which means there's a ton of people out there that don't want to see the AI overviews. I think we lose track of that as marketers. So I think there's a little bit of false freak out from all of the marketers right now, thinking, it's all going away next week. And I think it's going to be a much slower process.
So it would be safe to continue the strategy you offer today.
For sure.
Right? Okay.
For sure.
All right, that's all. Thank you for giving us a lot of insights. I really appreciate them.
Yeah, happy to.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
You too.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.